Now, what I'm trying to get at with this is just to get you thinking a little bit about how the court systems work. So we're going to start with the state. Now, as we go through these, I'm just going to mention 5 of them. When we get to the federal courts, I'm actually going to just make you write down 3. The rest of the court systems that we're going to talk about through Chapter 18, all the handouts have them on them, okay? So what I'm referring to today is obviously the Supreme Court, which is a constitutional court. It has very broad power, right? And then these other 4 are very specific. They deal with certain things, so they are special courts. Because remember, the only constitutional court we have is the Supreme Court, okay? Now, with that being said, with each of these 5 courts that we're going to talk about, I need you to know whether they have a justice or a judge in them, whether or not they have a jury or they don't, and then what type of jurisdiction it has, okay? So, if you'll look at the top with this BABOO scenario, what I mean by that is the types of jurisdictions that these courts are going to have. If I have the letter B, it means that it has both. And what I mean by both is it has original, meaning they can hear a court case first, and they have appellate, because they can be appealed to that court. You guys understand that? So B means both. O simply means that it just has original. A means it only has appellate. So if you can remember that stupid little acronym, you literally will have every court's jurisdiction down. Does that make sense? Now, second thing that I'm going to tell you, there's only one state court that we're going to deal with that has justices in it. Okay? If there's only one of them that has a justice, that means the other 4 has to have a judge. Y'all got me? So, if you can just remember which one has a justice system in it, then all the rest of them have a judge. Y'all good there? And then lastly, there's only one state court that has a jury. Okay? If you can remember which one has a jury, then obviously the rest of them do not. So if you can remember the answer to those 3 questions, you've got this part figured out. It looks like a lot of material, and yes, you need to know all of it. But if you can remember the answer to the 3 questions I just presented to you, you can't fail this. Okay? So, let's start with it. The first court that we're going to deal with is the Virginia Supreme Court. So jot it down. Okay? Now, it's the highest court at the state level. It is a constitutional court. It has very broad power. Okay? Now, before we get into the justices and the juries and the jurisdictions and all that stuff, there's a couple things about the Supreme Court that you need to know. Okay? The first one here, I wrote down final appeal. What I mean by that is the Virginia Supreme Court is the highest state court that there is. If you appeal a court case all the way to the Virginia Supreme Court, whatever they give you is what you get. You can't appeal from a state court to a federal court. You guys understand that? Because state courts deal with state laws, federal courts deal with federal laws. So it is the court of final appeal. And it's only the court of final appeal if they choose to hear your case. They don't have to hear your case. Okay? The second thing that is unique about the Virginia Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court is just like this as well, is this is the only state court that has the power of judicial review. So jot down judicial review. Did anybody do their Supreme Court case, that landmark Supreme Court case that you're supposed to turn in on Wednesday, that a lot of you haven't, by the way? Do your Supreme Court case on Marbury versus Madison? Okay. Well, Marbury versus Madison is the reason we have judicial review. To break this down very simply, Marbury versus Madison, Marbury got appointed to be a justice of the peace by a president. A new president took over. They didn't want Marbury to do it. Marbury sued that president. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said you brought the president to court, violated the Judiciary Act of 1789. So it violated the Constitution, meaning this court case was null and void. Y'all with me? So to break all that down to make it simple, it gave us judicial review, which is the ability to declare laws unconstitutional. You will need to know what judicial review means. Okay? And it is the ability to declare laws unconstitutional. The only court that is allowed to exercise judicial review is the Virginia and the United States Supreme Court. Everybody got me there? So is everybody good with those 2 analogies so far? All right, so now let's get into what we need to know about the Virginia Supreme Court. First thing I told you is there is only one state court that has justices, and guess which one it is? It is the Virginia Supreme Court. So jot down it has justices, and there are 7 of them. Okay? How many does the U.S. Supreme Court have? Anybody know? It has 9 of them. Okay? Good boy, Sam. So the state has 7. Okay? If, and this is something I would remember as well, if a court system has justices, and of the 8 that I'm actually going to make you write down, there's only 3 of them that have justices. If it has a justice system in it, there is no jury. Okay? The justices make their decisions, and that's what is decided. They don't need a jury to make up their mind. Okay? So, the Virginia Supreme Court is made up of justices. Obviously, there is no jury. Now, I told you a minute ago, how many of these state courts have justices in them? 1. If this is the only one, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have to have what? Judges. So far, so good? All right. No jury. And then what type of jurisdiction does this Virginia Supreme Court have? And this is where this comes into play, the baboo part. B being both, A being appellate, O being original. I have them numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is number 1. Number 1 up here has the letter B. So what I'm getting at with that is that the Virginia Supreme Court has original jurisdiction, meaning that they can hear a court case first if they want to, and they have appellate jurisdiction, which means that a court case can be reviewed to them. So they have them both. In parentheses, I wrote down the word concurrent, meaning that they share jurisdiction with the federal court, but it's the only state court that can do that. Okay? So it technically has 3, but we're just going to make sure you know it has original and appellate jurisdiction. All right, everybody with me with the Virginia Supreme Court there? Simple enough, I hope. That's the highest court at the state level. All right, moving on down. Let's go to the second highest court. That is the Virginia Court of Appeals. Pretty simple stuff with this one. Okay? We already know that the Virginia Supreme is the only one that has a justice. So this one has to have a judge. Okay? So the Virginia Court of Appeals is ran by judges. This one does not have a jury, so there is no jury. And then common sense, according to our acronym, the second letter is an A, so the only type of jurisdiction that the Virginia Court of Appeals can have is appellate. Makes sense. The word appeal shows up in their name, so the only thing they're going to do is hear court cases on review. Okay? Is anybody confused? Is everybody with me how I'm getting this? Simple enough? And that's basically it. If I don't like a decision I get in a lower court, I can appeal it all the way to these guys and they'll listen to it. Okay? The majority of the time, guys, the Virginia Court of Appeals is actually the court of final appeal because most cases the Supreme Court don't deal with. You know what I mean? But obviously if they do decide to hear it, they would be the final appeal. Okay? All right. So far, so good? Third highest court at the state level, right down circuit court. You could put Virginia in front of it if you wanted to, but it's okay. There's no circuit. There is a circuit court at the federal level, but they're very specific. They're special courts, just like these are. Okay. So again, we know that this one has a judge because there's only one that has a justice, and we've talked about it. Here's the kicker with the circuit court. This is the only state court that has a jury, okay? So if you hear me ask you what is the only state court that has one of these, that has a jury, you will need to tell me circuit court. So common sense, if it's the only one that has a jury, none of the rest of them can have a what? Jury, okay? According to our acronym, it has both original and appellate jurisdiction, meaning you can start a case here and you can appeal a case to here. So this is a pretty significant court, okay? Now, out here beside of it is the tricky part, and this is where people usually start getting confused when it comes to the courts. So, let me break this down for you. How many of you in here know how many different types of crimes there are? And that's it, right? You're either going to commit a misdemeanor or a felony, so the answer to that is 2, correct? How many different types of court cases are there? You're making this hard. If I commit a crime, I'm a criminal, so that's 1, right? Can I go to court without committing a crime?
2.
Yeah. I can sue somebody or be sued, right? That's civil. That's it. You're either going to go to court over a criminal or a civil proceeding, okay? Now, there's 2 types of crimes, but you're still going to go to court over a criminal case, okay? So, what does the circuit court deal with? This is what you need to know as well. Besides the circuit court put down that they deal with felony criminal cases, murder, kidnapping, armed robbery, things of that nature, big trouble. Felony is a severe crime. If you are charged with a felony, your court case would begin in the circuit court. So everybody got that? It also deals with civil cases that are over $1,500. So if you sue someone for more money than that, guess where your court case would begin? The circuit court. Okay? Statistically speaking, 1 out of every 3 people in the United States will either sue or be sued in their lifetime. Okay? That's a lot. So obviously courts stay busy. But if I were to ask you a question about, say I kidnapped Sam over there and held him for ransom, once I got caught, is that a felony or a misdemeanor? Obviously a felony. My court case would start in circuit court, right? And then if I sued Jackson for $2,000, the circuit court would deal with it because it's over $1,500. Okay? All right. Next one. Let's jump down here to the General District Court. This is number 4. Now, if you guys notice, I've got little lines drawn here. Y'all see those little arrows everywhere? I'll explain what I mean by those right here in just a second. I'm trying to get through this before it's time for you guys to go. So the General District, knowing what we already know, we know it has to have a judge because the only justices are in the Virginia Supreme Court. We know that there isn't a jury because the only jury we have is in the circuit court. So now that's all that's really left is we need to know is the type of jurisdiction, which is original, meaning that a court case can begin here. Now, does it have appellate? Did I write appellate out? No. So, if I were to ask you the question, can you appeal a court case to the General District, you would answer me with no. It does not have the type of jurisdiction you need in order to do that. So, it just has original. Everybody with me? Now, if the circuit court up here deals with felonies and civil cases over $1,500, then what do you think the old General District's going to deal with? Misdemeanor criminal cases. Here's an idea. How many of you got a driver's license? Did y'all have to go to court to get it? Which court did you go to get it? Right there in town. Yep, you're right. There's a court downtown. That court right there in town is called the Carroll County General District Court. Why do you think they make you go into the General District Court to get your driver's license? Because if you have a traffic violation and you end up going to court over it, guess which court you're going to? General District. They want you to know where it's at. All right? So, they deal with misdemeanor criminal cases. And then they also deal with civil cases under $1,500. Does that take into consideration basically anything we commit a crime over? Yeah. All right. All right. So is everybody good so far? Simple enough? Now, here's where I want to show you guys something. Let's say that I get a speeding ticket going through Hillsville. And I get wrote up for it. I get cited for it. And I want to fight it in court. Which court am I going to? Is it a misdemeanor or a felony to get a speeding ticket? It's a misdemeanor, so I'd end up where? I'd go to the General District, right? So let's say I go to the General District. They make me have to pay a $500 fine for whatever I speed for. Let's say I don't like that. Do I have the right to appeal that court case? Yes or no?
Yeah.
I do. So you can never appeal to a lower court. You guys with me? You can only appeal up. So if I'm in the general district, where would be the first court that would hear my appeal? The circuit, right? Same concept. I could go to the circuit. They're going to review my court case. Let's say they keep it the same. Still don't like it. Can I appeal it again if I wanted to? Yeah, to the Virginia Court of Appeals. They review it. Now, obviously, guys, the Virginia Supreme Court is not going to want to hear me complain about getting a speeding ticket, so they're not going to hear my court case. Y'all got me? But technically speaking, could I appeal that all the way to the Virginia Supreme Court from the general district? I could. Okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about the last court we got here. It's called Juvenile and Domestic Relations. Yeah.
You probably already said this, but is there a reason why one of those has a jury?
One of those what?
One of the courts has a jury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because of his felony and murder. The felony's starting a higher court because they feel those are more severe crimes, so they want them to have less opportunity to appeal it.
Oh.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
See, like if I'm in the circuit court, I technically only have 2 chances to appeal if the Supreme Court will allow me to hear it. If I'm in the general district, I have 3 if the Supreme Court allows me to hear it. Got me? So, the last little state court we're going to talk about is Juvenile and Domestic Relations. It's commonly referred to as the J&DR court. Okay? As far as the structure of it, you should know it has a judge. Obviously, there's no jury, and the only type of jurisdiction it has is original. Guys, the lowest courts in the counties can only have original jurisdiction because you can't appeal down, can you? You can only appeal up. So the lowest courts don't need appellate jurisdiction. There ain't nobody to appeal it to them. You y'all understand that? So, as far as the juvenile concept of this goes, it's anyone under the age of 18. So how many of you guys are under 18 right now? If you were to commit a crime, that's where you'd end up because you're a juvenile. They would deal with a misdemeanor or a felony of a juvenile. Y'all with me? Now, in the great state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia, can a juvenile be tried as an adult? Yes. That is a yes. If they think you've done something harsh enough to be penalized as an adult, they will try you as an adult. So keep that in mind, Lincoln, next time you decide to do something. All right? Okay. And then on the other side of this, you've got domestic relations. The domestic relations deals with divorce, child custody, and child support. So obviously people over the age of 18 show up in this court because they deal with divorces and things of that nature. All right? So the only last thing I want to talk to you about with this is how you would appeal it. Let's just say, for example purposes, 2 individuals in their 30s decide they want a divorce. All right? And there's children involved, meaning they're under the age of 18. Y'all got me? So obviously they would go here to decide all that, right? Once all that's decided, let's say one of the people in the divorce just doesn't like the terms of the agreement. So they're going to appeal that idea. Can they do that? Yeah, absolutely. It's anybody's right. You can appeal it. Now, since this court only has original jurisdiction and the general district court only has original jurisdiction, where would I appeal to from the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court? All the way to the circuit court. I would actually bypass the general district. Y'all see my little arrow here? That's what that's supposed to represent. Okay? And then again, if we got here, we didn't like what we wanted, if we didn't like the verdict, could we appeal again? Obviously. If the Supreme Court would hear it, we could appeal all the way to them, right? But again, guys, y'all got to think. I make it sound like it's easy to appeal to the Supreme Court. You're paying for a new court case every single time you appeal it. So this is a lot of money that you're talking about. And then when you get to the point where if the Supreme Court, they don't have to hear it. They get to pick and choose what they hear. Okay? So that's kind of how the state courts work. But again, if you can remember which one of these has a justice, which is the Virginia Supreme, and that the circuit court is the only one that has a jury, and our little acronym at the top with BABU and the jurisdictions, all this is easy. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow, if I was going to be here, we would be doing federal court systems. But I'm just going to send you the rest of the notes for Chapter 18. You work at them at your leisure during class tomorrow. Try to get as much of it as you can get done. And I will start back on it with Monday with you guys. I'm going to send you the quizzes for the sections. If you don't understand them, do not do them until we do those sections in class. But you can do the notes while we're waiting on me to return. Okay? Does anybody have any questions there? All right, that's all I got. Good job.